Psyche, aka Janemba, has accompanied Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks to the future, finding Zamasu and Janemba Black, working together to bring about the end of mortals. During their first encounter, Janemba loses an arm, quickly de-transforming back to base form, his emotions completely unaligned, angry and resentful. He can't use his powers properly. Beerus wants to punish Psyche, but when he finds him in critical condition, he decides against it, instead heading up with Goku to find Zamasu and destroying him once he tried to kill Gowazu. Now Psyche is awake once more, ready to depart to the future. Psyche stumbles into the room. He had been listening, and he wanted to go back into the fight. Erasa sprung up when she saw him. He was surprised to see her there, upset to have missed the date. Bulma tells him that he's way too hurt, to let the Pilaf gang take care of him. But Psyche tells them that he can't just sit this one back. That monster is using his body. He's becoming exactly what Beerus fears Psyche is. He needed to stop him. This was personal. Erasa too tried to get him to stay back and not take any more risks. But it was clear that Psyche needed to do this. Never had anyone seen him so determined. That young boy who only cared about music now seemed jaded. Erasa knew that there was no arguing. She looked down. He was so weird. Of course Videl had to get Gohan, the nerdy one with super strong powers, but didn't have to look like a little demon. But she liked Psyche a lot. He was funny and never apologized for being himself. She wanted that date, so she looked at him in the eyes as she took off her bracelet and smirked while putting it on him, kissing his cheek. She made him promise to come back safe. After all, she needs to get that bracelet back. And that date. Bulma thought this was really cute while Vegeta just rolled his eyes and told Psyche to get a move on. They can't waste any more time. Psyche hugged Erasa and ran out the door. Thus, the team, alongside the Kais of Universe 7 and 10, head back to the future. There, it is revealed that not only had Trunks unlocked a new state, Super Saiyan Rage, but Mai had been helping him in hit-and-run tactics on Zamasu. As soon as Black saw Psyche, he laughed.
I'm surprised you survived. What are you planning on doing with only one arm?
Psyche spat on the ground, instantly transforming into Super Janemba, his hoodie ripping over his shape. Janemba Black and Super Janemba launched at each other, while Vegeta goes off to help Trunks and Goku fights Zamasu. It's clear that Zamasu is struggling, but Black has Janemba against the ropes still. Even when the other two try to jump in and help, Black's power seems limitless, finally slamming Janemba down to the ground as a shower of crystals attempted to kill him. However, Vegeta and Trunks both stood up in front of him, defending Janemba with a shield of ki. Janemba wasn't moving. Psyche thought this was all hopeless, until Trunks began to speak, telling him to get up, that he can do this. There was an explosion, as Trunks and Vegeta couldn't hold it back anymore. They were sent tumbling away, with Janemba's painful cries being heard. Holding his non-existent arm, Vegeta and Goku continued to fight while Trunks approached Janemba. I'm sorry you had to lose it, helping me defend my future. You want to get back at him for what he took from you, right? Listen, it made me nothing to you, but my master, the greatest man I've ever known, he lost his arm to monsters like Black and Zamasu, but he didn't stop fighting for what he believed in. He didn't allow the darkness to consume him, that hatred. You remind me of him, of Gohan. Janemba's eyes jolted open. Gohan? Trunks' master was Gohan? They both stood up, with Trunks nodding before going back to fight. His attacks, his various moves. He really was Gohan's student, wasn't he? Somehow that connection between his friend in the present and Trunks' master in the future had brought Psyche back momentarily. He needed to keep fighting. Goku and Vegeta began doing better, allowing for Trunks and Psyche to attack together with their swords, pushing Black back. Just like the original, Trunks would attempt the Mafuba after learning how to use it through a phone, but Goku forgot the seal. Even so, this altercation gave Black a chance to once again confront Psyche alone. He mocked the demon as the scythe narrowly missed his neck. Back against the wall, Janemba could only growl at Black.
If only I could hear your pain properly, the way I heard it when I killed your friends. Goku, his sons, and the Namekian. You are pathetic. You are an Oni from the other world. You can't see these mortals are beneath you too?
Psyche's heart continued beating faster and faster, his vision becoming blurry as the screams and pain of his friends were heard in the background. In front of him was a reflection, the monster Beerus and some others saw him as. He became angry, Bitter, he could feel the darkness within him, the souls behind that cage escaping more and more into his body. Goku realized this, and he tried to rush his way to reach out, but Janemba screamed out in anger while looking at Black. He hated him. He hated everything Zamasu stood for, the nihilism he spouted. Janemba's tail slammed against Goku as his eyes widened. Goku couldn't believe what he saw. This wasn't any form Psyche had shown before. It was something else.
Yes, you see, you really are the purity of mortal sins. Look at you. You and I are not dissimilar.
Janemba, huffing in anger, attacked Zamasu relentlessly, but Black could still keep up. He wasn't in control. He couldn't think at all. The uncontrollable monster opened his aura, racing the area and destroying everything in his path. Zamasu had been proven right. This boy couldn't help but give in to the temptation of sin offered by the souls within. Zamasu and Black stood by the new Black Janemba, but Goku wouldn't let his friend be taken just like that. Vegeta and Goku got in the way, blasting both Janembas into different directions. Janemba landed through a building and on a puddle of water. He tried to get up, but as he did, he looked at himself in a puddle, immediately trying to attack it too. But from Janemba's wrist, Erasa's bracelet fell on the reflection. The ripples showed something he didn't recognize at first. Janemba was looking at the face of Zamasu, of Janemba Black. Janemba had morphed into the same dark state Zamasu had. Psyche, snap out of it! You can't give in! Psyche realized it now. Zamasu had allowed his hatred for humanity to consume him. The power of Janemba was really entirely dependent on emotions, wasn't it? And at that moment, he hated Zamasu. He had given in. He had lost. He had transformed to be just like him. Zamasu had never seen any other form. In his heart, he only held hatred. But he couldn't allow that. He wasn't like Zamasu. He wasn't like the monster Beerus and Trunks thought he was at first. He was Psyche. He loved music, his friends, his new home. He needed to remember that. Remember the good things in life. Slowly he watched as the black from his horns faded back into purple. Within the demon, Psyche saw himself before the gate once more. But this time, although he unlocked it, he didn't allow those souls to consume him. No, he grabbed them, one by one. He held onto them. He was in control of his emotions. He was in control of Janemba. As Goku and Vegeta defended Psyche and Trunks, an incredible burst of light shot upwards that made everyone turn their heads. Janemba was back. He was in control. He picked up the bracelet, and just like when he created a sword, the bracelet burst into his side, creating an arm which sprouted like pixels. An arm of pure ki. Psyche had done it. He had taken complete control of Janemba. It seemed for a moment he was lost, but his years of training had finally paid off.
No,
Psyche!
I will never be like you.
As he stood up, he picked up two pieces of rubble, both morphing into swords, which he showed off to his evil counterpart.
I am not hatred. I am not sin. I am me.
With that shout, Janemba threw a punch at Black, who activated a barrier to protect himself. However, Janemba's punch twisted into shapes, particles, pixels that seeped through the shield and struck Black still. The other fighters joined in. This was their chance to finally gain the upper hand. Black stood no chance now. Psyche was more creative with his powers, and that went a long way. But above that, he was in control of his emotions, unlike the hateful Zamasu.
You have nothing but hatred in your heart. It is the reason you never had access to the first form or the second. Happiness, anger, sadness, these are essential parts of human reality, which you refuse to acknowledge. You see them as weaknesses, but they are what makes us stronger than you'll ever be.
Black had no way to escape, and Zamasu was clearly losing ground. They'd have to take drastic measures. As Janemba and the rest of the Z-Fighters comboed Zamasu and Black away from each other, Black took the Potara off, the force of which finally allowed him to escape Janemba and slam against his counterpart, fusing into a new being. This newly merged Zamasu expelled an incredible power none of them had felt before. Fused Zamasu didn't waste any time, as portals appeared in every direction, shooting out lightning. Goku, Vegeta, and Janemba were able to avoid them, but Trunks was wounded by them. They needed to do something quick. That's when Gowazu and Shin appeared, helping Trunks retreat and heal him. Janemba yelled at Vegeta and Goku to go with them, figure out a way to stop him while he distracts them. Vegeta and Goku were worried. This new Janemba was doing very well, but merged Zamasu was not only immortal, but incredibly strong. That's when Gowazu suggested that they use the Potara too. That could work. Vegeta.
Fusing with you is something I never want to do again, Kakarot. But if we have to do it, then let's do it right.
What do you mean?
We've proven to Zamasu that us mortals can challenge a god. Let's continue proving it. We don't need God's power to fuse.
You mean... Vegeta hated it, but seeing how far they'd come, it only made sense. It was time for the fusion dance. Fused Zamasu continued to battle Janemba, who was finally starting to struggle. This new power was incredible, but Zamasu's immortal form was proving to be a problem. When Zamasu swung to strike Janemba and surely hurt him great, Janemba thought quickly and blurted out a curse word, which actually stopped him dead in his tracks, breaking him apart some. Zamasu was not aware of this weakness, but Psyche, it hurt him, yeah, but he had plenty of words to say. He continued to do this until he felt a powerful explosion of ki behind him. Janemba smirked, struggling to keep himself up. For the first time since his inception, Janemba was looking at the ultimate fighter, Gogeta, the Soul Bringer. Janemba stood by the fusion, as Trunks held his sword by his side. These mortals had to do ridiculous dances to even come close to the power of godly fusion. It wouldn't be enough. Gogeta led the charge, punishing Zamasu with a barrage of kicks that left streaks of starlight behind. Zamasu was kicked up to the sky, where Trunks blasted him down to the ground. Janemba lifted his blade up, exploding the monster. Zamasu clearly stood no chance, and his form began to show it as he began to melt onto himself. The god began to freak out, not knowing what to do, as he started to remember something. He watched as Janemba created a pocket dimension to escape Beerus and defeat Hit. Perhaps he could do that too, trap them in there and defeat them. Yes, he could do that, but while he was trying to speak, no words were coming out. Now he was the one completely mute as he continued to freak out, zooming towards Gogeta and the others, before opening a portal that trapped them within his own pocket dimension. However, Janemba was one step ahead of him, creating his own portal. Both teams were now trapped within Zamasu's pocket dimension. They needed to finish him off now, before they were trapped in there forever. Zamasu tried to speak, but only roars would come out. He began to fire blasts at them, which they narrowly avoided. Though Trunks was slower than the other two, they supported one another, with Janemba grabbing Trunks' arm and throwing him at Gogeta, who pushed him further up to the sky and onto Zamasu, avoiding the shards of ki. But as Zamasu was about to retaliate with an attack towards him, he heard the energy of Gogeta and Janemba swirling together. They stood back to back, hands up to the sky as ki was collected onto their palms and then crushed. Janemba and Gogeta, each one shouting out different names: Gogeta's Stardust Breaker and Janemba's Soul Punisher. The attacks swirled together into a powerful flash of light that pierced through Zamasu, leaving him convulsing and unstable as Trunks burst down, cutting him right through the middle. Zamasu exploded into pieces, crystals floating all around as his screams echoed. Was he done for? Trunks was sure of it, but Zamasu began to spread, those crystals darkening and covering the entire area. He was trying to spread onto them, corrupting them and seep into the outside world. Thinking quickly, however, Janemba cut a portal out, escaping just in time as Zamasu continued to go after them. His screams got louder and louder until Janemba finally swung his finger across, as if stitching reality back together and closing it, trapping Zamasu within his own pocket reality, like a snake eating its own tail, alone in a world with no mortals. His wish had come true. Finally, the future was safe, as Janemba, with a flick of his finger, began to make those giant jelly beans and structures disappear, turning into something that could only be described as fairy dust, giving life to that world once more as the first sign of plants and fruit began to appear. Mai ran to hug Trunks, as Psyche finally reverted back to his base form, still holding on to the bracelet. Everything was alright. He knew that now. Gogeta smiled at him as he passed out. Soon enough, they would return to the present, where Trunks would spend a little bit more time there, spending time with Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, but especially Gohan and Psyche. It was nice seeing Gohan again, even if it wasn't the same one. The transformation had actually allowed Psyche to regrow his arm. It wasn't the same as before, but it would do, until it was finally time for Trunks to return home, to his own future. Whis and Beerus heavily disapproved of what happened, and Beerus said that he would still have to punish Janemba. In fact, as soon as Trunks and Mai left, Beerus was tapping his finger, telling him that they have a score to settle. It was time to show him what he's made of, now that he can, supposedly, control his power. Psyche was ready and excited to do this when he saw Erasa show up behind Beerus. She ran to hug him, admiring his new arm, and realizing that her bracelet was a little broken. She glared at him and Psyche apologized profusely, but it was okay. At least now she really had a reason to cash out on that date. Psyche looked at Beerus worried, but Beerus rolled his eyes, allowing him to go. Goku and Vegeta laughed. As Piccolo watched him go, he could sense his ki. They all could. It was much different from before. More powerful, more confident. He truly had changed. Janemba and Psyche were now one. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a special thank you to the patrons of the channel. If you like this video, why not check out some of my other ones? I recently released What If Goku Met Bardock in Otherworld, in case you've ever wondered what that'd be like. Or if you're a fan of Budokai Tenkaichi 2, I made an adaptation of Faithful Brothers, this story where Raditz loses his memories and turns good. I want to give you guys a huge thank you. I finally reached 300,000 subscribers, and I wouldn't be here without any of you. So, from my heart, thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and until we meet again, see ya!